Hello everyone, my name is Sarah. I go by GSarah on Instagram, and today I'm going to be talking to you guys about my last vendor pop-up shop event in Canton and go over some tips and some things that I learned that I think will help some people that are wanting to get into vendor events, flea markets. This was my second event ever, so I am not a pro. I'm sure that there's a lot more that I'm going to learn. I just wanted to share what I've learned so far because I feel like this last time that I went, I learned a lot because a lot of stuff kind of went wrong. But before I really go into that, for those of you who have been following me for a while and are maybe curious how this last event went compared to the first time, I made a lot of mistakes that ended up costing me a lot of money. So just to kind of break it down, I'm gonna need my computer for this. I have to log in. I'm sorry. I'm never as prepared for my videos as I think that I am whenever I start recording. Okay, so first off, let me kind of talk about Canton. Canton is one of the biggest flea markets in the United States. It's huge. There are 4 trade centers, which are these huge metal buildings. I think my trade center has 60 spots, and that's not the biggest one. So there's a lot of vendors there. And then there's also the Arbors, which is this huge building. And then there's the Civic Center, which is another huge building, and in between all of them there's a bunch of land and spots for more vendors. There's probably more vendor spots outside than there are inside, and inside there's like 1,000 maybe total. I don't know. It's a lot. There's a lot that goes on, and they have a lot of food trucks and the corn dogs. Corn dogs are so good, and the funnel cakes, oh my god, they're to die for. It's a really big event. There's a lot of people that come, and January, February, and March, and sometimes April, from what I've been told, are the slowest months there. And I just did March. I also went to the one in February. That was my first month, and that was the one where I made almost $300. So I made $397.8392 72, and I made about 300 cash. I don't remember the exact amount, but that's $790.55, which is good for most people. That would be good. But let me explain to you some of the mistakes that I made that I'm going to fix next time. So I made $790 in roughly and 55 cents in sales at Canton. I paid for my spot, which was $175. And I also paid for my parking spot, which was $50. And then I paid, I had to rent a Uhaul, or my fiance had to rent a Uhaul. I drove the car because I don't want to drive a Uhaul. $330 for the Uhaul. And then we filled up the gas tank twice. That was probably more like $80, maybe even more. I don't know, $80 in gas. So that's left $155 that I made. And when you do the math of what I sold and then my cost of goods is actually more than $155. So technically I paid money to go to Canton last month. So I learned something. First off, renting a parking spot for $50 is great if you need to have like your truck, trailer, whatever, full of a bunch of stuff nearby, or if you just really want to have your car close to you, then it's worth the $50. I don't need my car. I didn't go to my car once. I mean, besides to leave and then to come back the next morning. So that was a total waste of money, and I'm not going to do that again. If you need the spot, then it's worth paying $50. Also, renting the U-Haul. Right now, we only have the one car. If we rent a U-Haul for Canton next month, we will have paid over $1,000 for a U-Haul. And you can buy a car with that. Not a great car, but you can still buy a car with that. So we're not going to rent a U-Haul anymore. I'm not really sure what we're going to do, but I'm not renting a U-Haul. It's not going to happen. I'm not 100% sure what we're going to do, but if you can avoid renting a U-Haul, do it, because they advertise, $19.95 a day, which is true, but they're not adding the fees and the gas and the mileage. And yes, the gas and the mileage are 2 different things. So just keep that in mind. Something really positive though about this past Canton, because if it weren't for the U-Haul in the parking spot, I would have made like $500, right? Math. Roughly. If you want to watch my first video, I'll tag it up here, although I have a few videos of me talking about getting prepared and getting set up. And I wanted to share all this with you guys for people that are new to it and want to see what it was like to get into it and how it's like the first few times. Some things that I learned, which I don't even know this one, but I'm gonna have to figure it out, which is to know where the vendor parking is. I don't. I have a phone number of a girl that's across from me, so I'm actually gonna text her and ask her, although she rents a spot too. I'll figure it out. Maybe something to help people in the future so you're not stuck where I am. Figure that out ahead of time. Know where the nearest bathrooms are and the nearest trash can. And with that, bring a trash can. It doesn't have to be a huge one, but definitely bring a trash can because you are going to use it. I thought I was going to only use it for the first time, but I brought it anyways for the second time just in case. And I ended up dumping it out into the big trash can like 10 times. So know where that big trash can is so that when yours fills up, you can go empty it out and you're not overflowing with trash in your booth. And obviously, know where the bathrooms are. Like I said earlier, don't pay for parking unless you really need it or you just really want your car to be there, because if you don't need it, that's $50 that you don't have to make sales for and feel like, you know, you haven't actually made any profit until you get to a certain point. If you don't pay for the parking, then you'll hit that point a lot sooner. I already talked about this too, but do not rent a U-Haul unless you absolutely have to. There are cheaper ways to go about it. I mean, maybe not. Maybe that is the cheapest way. It ate up all of my sales. Have a designated spot for doing your checkout in your booth. This helps so much. So the first time that I went, I have my 3 6-foot tables, and then I had this little black card table, and I used that for checkout. But this last time I did something totally different, and it worked out really well. I went and I bought this checkout stand, this wooden checkout stand from another vendor. I'm gonna put in a video. Actually, I'm just gonna put it in right now of how I have my setup. Now I've got my tent moved over, and then this is my little checkout area. So that way I can sit down right here and they can be checking out the candles, and I can do the whole thing up here. But I did my setup. So pretty much everything is up at the front except for the soap. I moved the soaps over here, and then there's kind of a walk-in, but there's no real reason for anyone to walk back here. So I'm trying to make it to where most of it is up here. I may rearrange this again. Having that table right there up at the front was so convenient because people would come up, they'd be looking at the candles, and then they could talk to me because I was right there. I feel like if people are like up at the front of their booth, like looking at everyone, that's a lot of pressure. Like I've walked by other booths and I won't go look at their stuff because the vendor person is like right there, and I don't want, I'm such a weird person. I do not like social interaction when there's the pressure of a sale in either direction. I don't like being the salesperson. I don't like being the person going up and maybe purchasing something. It makes me nervous and it makes me uncomfortable, and I don't do it. So whenever I was sitting up at my table up at the front, I had my laptop and I had my notebook. I looked like I was doing stuff, and I would tell them if they had any questions that they could ask me, or sometimes I would just slip in some tidbits about like, did I make them? They're all unique blends of fragrances, or what kind of wax I use. Sometimes they would ask me, and it's really fun to explain what I'm doing and how I'm making it and why I started this whole business. It's fun to do that. So I really liked that layout, and I think I'm going to keep it that way. Because also, if they decide they want to buy something, they would move it, put it up on the counter, and that way they're still standing there and they're still looking at the rest of the stuff. So that would kind of encourage them to maybe buy some more stuff. It kind of took the pressure off. It made it less awkward, like they didn't have to walk into my booth because, you know, with COVID and everything, people are just kind of weird with walking into the spaces of the booth, and I understand that. Which is why I kind of have it laid out to where you can see everything. You can come in if you want to. There's not really any reason to, although I'm going to change that for next month. But I'm going to keep the layout the same, if that makes sense. That worked out really well. That way it was a mixture of both, because I couldn't choose between if I wanted everything displayed up at the front or if I wanted it to be a walk-in booth. I figured out a way to do both, and I hope that that video was helpful of how I had it set up, because that worked really well, and it kept me organized. It felt like the customers were a lot more comfortable coming up to the booth with that setup. Another tip, bring food. Seriously, bring food for you to eat that's not going to go bad during the day, because for me, I kept stopping at this huge gas station. It was like a Buc-ee's, but it wasn't. and just buying like the sausage biscuit and then the big thing of fruit, which was so good. And then just some random stuff to eat throughout the day, and that got pricey. That probably ate up all the rest of the money that I made. So bring food, bring a cooler. I know during the summer months, that building is going to get hot. So my plan is to bring some coolers, not just for food, but for my candles. Maybe put the candles in like Ziploc bags and keep them in the coolers. I'm not really sure how that's going to go. When it comes and when I do those kinds of events, I will post videos on how it went and what I did and what went wrong and all that stuff. Okay, so this tip is important, and for some people this might be really easy, but for me this was super complicated. If you're doing an event that is overnight or multiple days, like a weekend or a 3-day event thing, you need to figure out how you're going to keep all of your stuff kind of safe. Not saying that people are going to rob you, but just to be on the smarter side. So like when you buy canopies, sometimes there's an option to buy the walls that attach. Do that. Do that if you can, because I didn't think about this, and so I didn't get the walls, and now I have to buy them separately, and they're like $80 a side, which is ridiculous. I probably am gonna have to get a new canopy. I think it might be cheaper for me to just get a new canopy with the sides than to buy the sides separately. I don't know. But what I did was I took some black fabric and some clamps, and I clamped it around the edge, but it wasn't long enough to go to the front. So then I clamped my pink table runner that was down the middle in the front, and used clothespins in the back. Which is, when I really think about it, that's stupid, because if somebody was going to steal something, they could get in there so freaking easily. They wouldn't even have to try. They could just crawl underneath the cloth. So maybe do more than that. I was lazy and I didn't want to put all my candles in the car, and because it's freaking heavy, so maybe just put all your candles in bins and put them under the table and wrap it around. Or I saw people use that orange netting stuff that you see at construction sites, wrap it around their stuff and around their booth. And lastly, this tip is important, I feel. Know that it is okay to not know exactly how you're going to set up your displays and your tables and your booth all together, because when you get there during the event, you can move it around. It's fine. I feel like when I was there, I noticed a lot of people, they weren't moving their tables around. I don't give a crap. I move things around all the time. I do it at home too. I have to rearrange all the rooms all of the time because the energy gets stale and I feel like I'm kind of going crazy. And that is no different at the event. I have to rearrange everything. Mostly it was because I hadn't found a setup that I really liked, and now I do. So my last day I didn't move it around. You can move your tables around. You can move your displays around. And maybe this was just me, but every time that I started rearranging my booth, people would come up to my booth and start asking questions or buying stuff. I don't know why. I guess that it brings attention to your booth when you're moving stuff around. Maybe people just love interrupting people that are working. I have no idea. I don't know why, but it worked. There were some times where I would rearrange stuff that I really didn't even care to, just because it would bring people over. It was weird. Make sure that you bring change, like actual coins change, so that you can give people back change for cash. And obviously have, 20s and 10s and 5s and a lot of ones. Because I ran out my first day and was like, shit. I had to round down on what they gave me. So I had to round up on their change, basically. I haven't had to use this yet. I packed it. One of those rolly lint picker-upper things, because my table covers are black. So I figured I would be using that a lot. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm inside. I'm not really sure. I know that the more I do this, the more I'm going to learn. I'm still brand new at this. These are just things that I have learned that would have saved me money and will save me money next time, and stuff that I'm really glad that I did. I also decided that I already ordered them, pink floodlights to put in the floodlights that are up top, because I like having it lit up. I do. It's just the direct light that's very, I don't know. It just kind of throws off. I feel like pink will just, I don't know. Well, I'm going to bring both of them and I'll show you guys next time, but I did get some pink floodlights that I'm going to put in the floodlights up top. I'm not going to be pinwheel wrapping any of my candles that I bring up there anymore, because I had a bunch of people that were walking by and kind of staring at them, and I'm assuming that they didn't know what they were, because the people that actually came up and asked were asking because they didn't know what they were. So I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm just going to have them all out. Also, I've been selling mostly the big ones. I haven't really been selling any of the small ones. I did a deal on the last day of my event, which was buy 3, get 1 free, which I think one person did. And they did the small ones. Other than that, though, I'm really only selling the big ones. So I'm going to bring a lot more of the big ones and less of the small ones. Also, I don't know how this is going to go. I'm not even really sure if I'm going to do it. I'm just thinking about it. I mean, I ordered the stuff to do it, so I'm probably going to do it. I think I want to set up a thing in my booth, like a table, and have these clear glass sealed containers, which I already ordered them, to put my Epsom salt, my black lava salt, the pink Himalayan salt, and the Dead Sea salt, and then also bring my coconut milk powder and my essential oils. And I'm going to have it all set up in the glasses. It's going to look real nice and pretty with the pink and the black and the white. And then I'm going to bring a big bowl, and I'm going to make bath salts up there to order. Maybe make like batches of 2 at a time. I don't know if I should have like a sign that has the ones that I normally make, which are lavender petals and frankincense and rose petals with the pink Himalayan salt and so on. You know, I do them specifically with certain essential oils, or they can just ask for whatever they want and I can make it, you know, like a bath salt, a custom bath salt thing. Let me know if this sounds really stupid. But yeah, those are my tips of what I've learned so far. Again, this was only my second vendor event, so I'm still very, very new to this. Definitely this one went better than the last one, and I feel like this next one is going to go a lot better too. So I'm going to keep sharing what I learn, and hopefully it is of some help to some people out there who want to do a pop-up shop and they're nervous because they haven't done it before. I still feel like I really don't know anything about anything, but I'm not giving up even though I haven't technically made money doing it yet. I'm gonna keep trying, and if I get to the end of the year, I'm gonna do this all the way through to December, I hope. And if I get to the end of the year and I still ended up spending more money than I made, or it's just not worth it, then I'll stop. But I feel like this is just my second time. It is slow. It was busier this time than last time, but it's still slow. But yeah, so I'm just going to keep sharing this journey with you guys. Hopefully it will be of some help. If you found this video helpful at all, please leave a thumbs up and subscribe down below. And as always, be excellent to each other, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.